There we go.
All right, everybody. Welcome here. We are live today. We're talking about numbers. ROI-based selling has a lot to do with examining the ROI at every stage of the customer journey. You might hear me say that more than once today. But the thing to remember is that buyers justify their investments on numbers, not vague benefits, not bullets. And if you can't prove measurable ROI, then your deals will stall. They will die on the vine. Today, we're here to talk about how to have a compelling financial business case, because you want to anchor your solution as the logical, high value choice. Not just valuable, high value, better than thems or thoses. And so our conversation is going to be about ROI, basically. We want to put calculators in place. You want to sell based on ROI. You want to ignore features and have your stuff linked to the bottom line. There is still always a storytelling part of sales, and you might want to storytell something about the financials, something that aligns with the decision makers, something that is of interest to the people who are in front of you, and how to overcome objections with data, not just more bullet points. Really, that's kind of our goal for this conversation. Who wants to start off here?
Oh, I want to go first, Jacob.
Please.
So, funny, awesome story. Let's say beyond just the ROI, sometimes allegory, right? Sometimes allegory when you're storytelling. So the key phrase in the pitch I wrote was, the next time a squirrel treats your distribution line as his own personal highway, right? We had a picture of a squirrel riding a Harley in a leather jacket, right? Hilarious. Everyone laughs. Amygdala goes on pause. You don't have to roll that truck, right? You don't have to send linemen out. Well, that's $600. Well, relative to the cost of what we're trying to sell today, it's only $1,500. So what is that ROI in terms of truck rolls? Well, that's 2.5 truck rolls. How many times do you roll a truck to your most frequent ones per year, right? So we did that math. So for the average highest use, right, your ROI in this will be 350% in year one.
Beautiful.
Right? So it starts with a little bit of allegory, free up their minds, get them laughing, ha, 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 land it, numerical, stepped, final ROI.
I love it. Yeah, that visual is such a clear pattern interrupt. So it's like, hey, can I get your attention for a minute?
Yeah.
I love it.
Who doesn't want to see a squirrel on early?
Right.
That does sound fantastic. One of the things I will say, just kind of adding on to that, is that like the first thing that you have to do is show and communicate to your prospect that you can actually solve their problem. ROI stats, hard numbers are the proof. But if you haven't earned their trust that you can actually solve their problem, those numbers become meaningless. And so it's a tiered or a stacked sort of approach. And that's what you were able to do with this rodent in a leather jacket.
Yeah, that is very true.
If only squirrel ended in a hard consonant, right? Then it'd be funnier.
Even funnier.
But I'm serious, right? I think that the ROI conversation is important, but I just wanted to lay that groundwork that you've already won their trust and shown that you have the possibility of solving their problem or creating the outcome they want.
Yeah, it's the punchline. It's the end, right? The ROI is not the beginning. It's at the bottom of the one sheet summary. It's at the end of the slide deck. The solution, the rapport building, everything else comes before that.
Yeah, very well said. I was thinking about I saw some live music recently, and how the standing ovation occurred is really, what I was being reminded of while you're speaking, because, after the artist finished on stage, and he was one of the good ones, right? He's like, I don't do any of that encore stuff. It just feels so weird. So this is goodbye. Like, announced the last song, and then he ended it and ended. But the super fans, right? Those people, the couple next to me who knew every single word, they got up first. And it took a little bit of time for the rest of the audience to kind of rise to the occasion and appreciate this performance. But I like the way you framed it, Rob, because it really made me think about that kind of scenario where, like, that's what that buyer is looking for. They want to be able to applaud the decision they made. Right. Like those audience members, they're saying thanks to the guy who's on stage, but they're also like, I'm really glad I paid this much for this ticket and spent this many hours sitting in this terrible little seat for this long. And there's all that other validation that they really need about the decision that they've gone through. Right. And that's the thing that I think about when you're trying to have these communications, is how do you make them feel that way, where they're like not just looking at the ROI of what you're proposing, but the ROI of the time that they spent there with you.
Oh. And to my people on the inside, right? What do I often tell them? I'm going to make you look like a hero. Yeah. Right. That's yeah.
So I love that, because what you're embracing right now is this understanding that ROI can take functional aspects like crunchy number stuff, but there's also like a social and emotional aspect that's far softer and more qualitative.
Yeah, very well said. And, having been in the room, that's the thing you want, is the person who invited you there to be getting the attaboys from the rest of the team.
Yep.
Right. We're glad you brought these people here to offer this to us, and, good job.
Yeah. I might be putting her on stage with me, slide number 1 for the opening story and the thing I'm going to do next week, right? She'll be up there front and center with me. We'll be talking about the workshop.
Yes.
She gets the spotlight. I share the spotlight. Then we transition. I finish the class. So, yes, she should win when we win.
Yeah, 100%. That's very well framed. And this is where, to point out, Zach, what you brought in, the tangible and intangible ROIs need to get married, right? Because people, as much as they're buying a result, the recognition matters, right? Like, I think a lot of decision makers are risk adverse. Actually, I know this stuff intimately because one of the CEOs I work with, he tells me the story all the time about the middle days of the third company he took public, where they weren't getting adoption. And every single person that he was going to say, hey, like this is going to make everything better for you, they're like, well, maybe so, but I could just wait till I retire and hand this off to be somebody else's problem to make this choice. Because they're worried about making the wrong choice, right? Until it became so obvious that there was no choice anymore. Because basically he modernized, a whole bunch of departments in local government and that kind of stuff, and took them from pen and paper to digital. And if you can imagine what kind of a change that was for those people. I mean, you've been in this stuff too yourself, Rob, like watching people, look at computers like it's 2010. And we're seeing the same thing right now with AI as well, right? Like what is it? How does it work? Which end of it is the front? And
Where do I plug it in?
yeah.
I've still got customers who are on 3-part carbonless copies.
Wow.
And I'm going to try and take them all the way forward to having an iPad for all their technicians, digital documentation, right?
Yeah.
Like all of it. Like,
Yeah.
but it's a long way from where they are all the way up to we're going to have AI answer your phone after hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a long way.
A huge leap in understanding.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess what's the measurable ROI in moving away from those 3 sheets?
Yeah, I've got one, waste reduction.
Okay.
So, if they fill out that sheet wrong, they're going to have to come and fill it out again. So there's waste in terms of copy paper, there's waste in terms of ink and pens, there's waste in terms of, like, they might have to go back to the person's house or wherever to get it signed off on. Like, there's all sorts of waste that goes along with inefficient operations like that. And it's tiny at first, but when you magnify it across hundreds, thousands of transactions, it adds up.
And
Perfect.
the time is unreal.
Yeah.
The time on the back end, right? What are you going to do? Put them all on a poker like at a diner? And then your accountant's got to key punch them all? Like, it just gets worse the more you think about it, right? Whoa.
I was lecturing a client recently because I care, like, deeply. But he arrived to a support call and struggled for about 20 minutes to get into the right place, which happened to be our project management software. I don't know what happened because he's been in it before, but he's like, I'm in somebody else's project management software. I'm like, well, that's not ours. You're going to have to log out, log back in. My point was bookmark it, because this isn't like not last week. Like, this person was onboarded into this software in late May, early June. But I just let it ride, got a task done, timed it, and then did the math of, like, so if this happens once a day, 5 days a week for 46 weeks of the year, you lose 182 hours a year to this.
Right.
Right? This needs to be solved. Now, if you are self-employed, you tend to be a little blind to those numbers. Most self-employed people are, unless you're widows like Rob, Zach, and myself. But the second you start paying payroll, boy, do you start thinking about minutes and hours.
Right.
Right. And so, I mean, I don't know, what's the average hourly wage out there?
Like
$20 an hour.
Okay, times 182 hours a year, times 5 employees. We're at 18 grand, folks. There's $20,000 of revenue leaks right there. And that's without even picking on something that matters.
So I want to highlight something here. What we've just done is we've walked through the ROI and, like, the way that people need to think about this, right? And this is the crunchy numbers stuff that is really important that can help get you across the finish line, right? Like, this is 18 grand that could be going back into your company's coffers. You could pay it out as a bonus. You could do it, like, you could take those 5 people on an amazing vacation for 18 grand and be the cool boss that everybody wants to work for. Like, there are all of those different aspects that you could use that $18,000 for. And now we're talking about the melding of the soft and the hard, because we're saying, what can you do with that money instead? And let's talk about the emotional and the social aspects of that lead to feeling like I'm the good boss, I'm the cool boss, I'm the one that everybody wants to work for. Or, you know, if that money's going to go back into your pocket because you're the founder of the company, what can you do for $18,000? Have you been living on top ramen and hot dogs for the last 3 years trying to get your business off the ground? You know, if you come to your wife and say, hey, I found a way to get us an additional $18,000 a year, you're Superman to her, man.
And just to compound that, this is one use case. What if we found 5 of them? Which I promise you isn't that hard. Now it's $100,000.
Right.
You can hire a very high-end fractional at that point and replace yourself in the company.
So that's the savings is a dollar amount. That's what goes into the ROI, less the investment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the next question is, what's it going to cost to buy my thing? Then we do a little bit of math, right? Divide that, get the percentage, express as a percent and as dollars, right? Like 25x and 300 times, right? Like those kinds, put that math behind it. And then put the dollars there too. So let them see it whatever way they need to see it for it to land. But the other thing here we're not talking about is every company that's thoughtful, and I don't know how many that is, but they have an internal hurdle rate.
Yes.
And that's the number you got to beat to even have a shot at getting to yes. So if their IRR is 12, right? And you don't come up with at least a 12.
Yes.
Yeah, no chance. You're not even going to get to prioritization. That's going to be easy no. Right? So you got to data mine your customer's internal rate of return, their hurdle rate. How do you find that out?
See, I think that's really interesting and insightful because I don't think that a lot of people think about that. But if you think about it in terms of who do I have to sell, who am I competing with, you might be competing with Mr. Internal Improvement Project led by the CFO, and you need to show that you can outperform him in a very like non-threatening way where he's not going to get his ego up about that. But like, I think that's really insightful.
You're his ally or her ally. Because if you bring in something that's better than their hurdle rate, you just put more money on the bottom line, you're making the finance person's job easier.
Yeah. I have 2 stories about that. One is a CFO I absolutely adore. We had a follow-up meeting last week. She's bringing a client to us, and you know, it's that time of year. We're in Q4, so she's starting to wrap up the year and make the plans for next year. And the leadership was like, so we're going to hire 5 more people onto the sales team. And she said, no.
Right.
Not until you fix this conversion problem that you have.
Right.
Right? Because like more people on this side of the fence is useless. And it's funny how the external, like the fractional CFO sees this, lives it, knows it, breathes it. But the leadership was just like, yeah, more people's the solution. And the bookend on that is our golden child case study, because inside of a build on the 3rd month after we fixed the lead to conversion stuff, set the sales team up with a dashboard properly, we did a reactivation campaign, and a voice agent called all the dead leads in the list, and it pulled $300,000 out of their list in a 30-day period.
Right.
Now, the agent got those people back on a call. Humans did the selling. Really, really important thing to understand. The AI didn't do the selling. It just reminded those people that they still hadn't solved their problem and got them into a call with the sales team.
Yep.
But my argument is that's what, like 5 salaries? And one of those people technically was being paid to follow up, probably. So I would teach that person to become an account manager or a customer success manager. I'd send them to massage school. I would teach them how to have a birthday card for every single person in the CRM and just upskill them and let the voice AI take care of the follow-up that was obviously failing. But there's some ROI for you.
At the end of the day, too many people stop short of just solving the problem, even if they don't do features and benefits, right? Even if they just solve the pain. At some point, you at least need to pull out a napkin and do some math. And
Yes.
but you better know your own economics.
Yes.
Because you don't write your margin on that paper, right? You better know your economics and know how to price it and be able to discount it to get the close, right?
Yeah.
Be ready.
Absolutely. And yeah, you're reminding me of another conversation I had, which was if you don't know the cost of acquiring a client, do not spend money on lead generation. Right? Like I wrestled with a little bit for the last 10 minutes on this conversation because I was like at least get me the bare minimum metrics of out of this many book calls, this many's buy.
Right.
Right. And she did admit, I can get you those numbers. I'm like, great. Like we'll talk about whether and what sort of leads might be worthwhile to you after you have those numbers. Because if you don't have those numbers, you can't compare anything to it. And I think this is a thing when people buy features, when they buy based on those bullets, it's the decision-making process. And at that point, you're ordering a top or bottom half of a sandwich, but you don't get both slices of bread.
How do most people make decisions really? Right? Most emotionally react first and then reverse validate and reason themselves into their emotional decision.
Yeah.
Back to that point, right?
I'm actually going to push back on that a little bit.
Okay.
Because I agree to a certain extent, but one of the things that I see people doing when they bring that point up is it's an oversimplification that does us a disservice. Because people are making an emotional connection, not with you, not with the brand, not even with the service outside of, they've had a light bulb go off in their head that says, hey, you know what? I think Rob can make me a better leader. Or, you know, I think Rob can really help me help Amy and Sarah get along. Or I think Jacob can really take a couple of hours off my shoulders so I can actually take my wife on dates. Right? Like those are all that's where the emotional connection is happening, and where the remaining justification comes, where that ROI comes in, is they've seen that connection. Now they need the proof. They need something that actually supports that conclusion that they've drawn, and so they start looking for it. That's what I think it means when we say they make the decision emotionally. It's not like, oh, I feel good about this guy, so I'm going to do it. It's more like, I see the possibility that this can solve my problem. I feel good about that possibility, and I'm going to explore it further. I don't know. Maybe I just started a war.
No, you're just nicer than I am. People buy cars, right? Just put it in that context. You're a car salesman. How do people buy cars? If a car salesman hears somebody say, oh my God, I love it, all they have to do is not screw it up.
That is very true.
Right?
And
yeah.
Go ahead. You finish your thought. Because I have a thought off of this, but I want to be sure you feel like you've got your point.
I was going to say, Rob, I'm on Tangent Island today, but that's exactly what I thought every time I'd see In the last place I lived, there was a gas station kitty corner. And every time I saw that Barbie pink Hummer parked there,
Right.
that's exactly what I thought. Right? Like that was not sold to somebody. That somebody came in saying, I want this.
Yes.
Don't not convince me to buy it, but like, where is it?
So here's the thing that I would say though, right? So they are convinced they want that Barbie pink Hummer,
Yep.
right? For a particular reason. What does that Barbie pink Hummer say about the owner, him or her, right? Like they're using their car as a mode of self-expression and identification. Absolutely. And so the question that I would have then is, they saw this as a way to self-identify and express that. And it's not just, oh my God, I love a pink Hummer. It's, oh wow, this communicates with me. This helps me express who I am. I want this car because of that. Now everything, the ROI, the interest rates on the car, does it have leather seats, all of that stuff becomes secondary to proving, yes, this Barbie pink Hummer can help you express your identity better than your current car or any of the other cars out on the market.
You're giving them a lot more credit than I think they deserve.
Oh, I don't think this is conscious by any stretch of the imagination.
Good.
Yeah, I don't think that they're deliberating through that in that moment and saying, gee, I think this bright neon green dye going in my hair is the perfect way to express my identity. But when you boil it down to its lowest common denominator, that's what's fundamentally happening. It's just subconscious. And if you can hijack their subconscious in a very healthy way, you can manipulate a result that gives them what they want. If you're a moral and ethical person working from a moral and ethical framework, and legal.
Right. Squirrel in a leather jacket, moral, ethical, legal, ROI at the end. That's right.
Yeah.
Great job bringing the rodent back. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so ROI matters, but it's not your opener, right? It's not your opener. It's your closer. Build the rapport, qualify, right? If you watched all the other episodes, right, you've heard us saying that the whole time, right? Check in with them. And the other emotional masterstroke, Zach, like I was on a call with a client the other day and she wasn't feeling well. So the next day I just said, how you feeling today? Oh my God, I can't believe you were so thoughtful, right? Like,
yeah,
right? Like it doesn't hurt to care just a little bit. Show up as a human being. Yeah. And once you establish rapport, build some trust, build a relationship, ROI, yes. It's not your lead dog. But
yes. And I love that you brought that up because it strikes me that we say people buy from people that they know, like, and trust, and authenticity matters and blah, blah, blah. Right. I think that what that experience highlights to me, and I'd love your guys' take on this, is that people buy from other people. They don't want to feel like a means to an end. They don't want to feel like a cog in a machine. They want to feel like someone actually cares about them and has their back, that it's another human being seeing their need. Yeah. And all too often we over systematize our sales to the point where we robotify it. And that's the moment when that human comes out and that woman says, oh my goodness, thank you so much for asking. I didn't think anybody would even care.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
ROI not a substitute for being a human being, but being a human being, not a substitute for ROI.
Absolutely. Any other key points, right? Stuff that absolutely cannot be missed or ignored
So I just want to go back to this because I think that we've spent a lot of time on the soft aspects of ROI, but the hard aspects do matter. And so I want to be sure that we are highlighting that, yeah, you actually do need to come with the proof. You need to be able to show, yeah, statistically speaking, 95%. Here's a good example. There is a, what's the stupid company called? Oh, shoot. They have this holistic pain reliever. I can't even remember the name, but in the ads they say 75%, or no, it's over 70% of our customers become repeat buyers because this works for them to reduce inflammation. It might not work for everybody, but it's worth giving it a try. That is a great example of leading with proof and ROI in a blended way, because their ads then go on to talk about, like, do you remember when you could crawl on the ground with your grandkids, but ever since you got in that car accident, you can't do that anymore? Well, let's do that. Let's get you back to being able to play with your grandkids and be grandpa and grandma. Or, you know, let's get you back to this place where you can go for a jog because you used to love doing your morning jog. Let's get you back to that place, right? And then they go, proof is in the pudding. 70% of our customers come back and become repeat customers because it actually works for them. Now you give it a try. It's a great example of what we're talking about. So you actually have to have that statistical evidence to back up that, yeah, we can deliver on what we say.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is a nice example of that marriage of the intangible and the tangible, right? It works for, you know, around 7 to 10 people. You are likely one of them. And when it does work, here's what you can do that you thought was gone and forgotten. It's good communication.
The hardest ROIs to prove out or to argue, to propose, is probably better. In my realm, they're always soft. And you make them hard, and people just say, nope, that's not true, right?
Right.
So you build an ROI based on the cost of turnover, 213% of the average salary times how many people you turn over in a year. If you invest in these assessments and you do employee screening, and we hire only from the top 25% of the barrel, you'll get both an increase in performance and reduced turnover, right?
Yeah.
And get you a 25x ROI on this investment. That can't be true. 25x. Yes. Yes. It's diagnostically that valid and effective, right? If you do this 25x, that can't be true. Well, here's the research. I'll send you the PDF, right? It's 48 pages, fully academically validated. Like, go ahead, right? I've been trustworthy the whole time. It's documented. So when can we talk next, right?
Brilliant.
You got to have your data. You got to have your research.
Truly. Oh, that is great.
Yeah. Too many are doubtful. People are skeptical for good reason, right? It's healthy to be skeptical. So if you're going to talk on ROI, make sure you can prove out your ROI. Really have legit data.
Absolutely.
Right? To do that squirrel example I shared in the beginning, we had to know that customer's specific cost per truck roll.
Right.
That's the beginning of the whole math problem. If you don't know that, you can't work those numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's maybe one of the things I'll start repeating, because I think it's one of the most important takeaways. It's just my opinion, but if you're positioning yourself as a buyer, don't buy the promise, buy the ROI.
Yes.
Buy the actual result that you can identify. If you can't do that, don't make the buying decision.
I really like that. I think that's really solid advice for anyone coming into this call.
Yeah.
If you can't, like, never buy the promise, you buy the ROI. And if you are someone who's selling, highlight the promise, highlight the outcome, and use ROI to sell the promise.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And if you want a clear example of selling the promise with no ROI, it's the engagement ring. It's an investment in the future. It's a token of affection, appreciation. It's a declaration of love, but you're not sitting there thinking about the resale value. Right? It's not based on ROI. It's based on a promise. It's literally that token of making a promise. It's a cultural norm, and that's fine, but that's not how you run a business. Right? So
Absolutely.
other things you want to do the opposite of, and make a clean, clear, calculated choice, not a decision, a choice, because there's more than one option out there for the stuff you're moving forward on.
Critical thinking is a thing, huh?
I hope so.
It's becoming rarer and rarer.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We need a new era of critical thinking, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
One that isn't outsourced to artificial intelligence either.
That's right.
Lacks discernment and judgment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole nother episode.
Truly.
Good stuff, guys.
Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for sticking out, Zach, even though it wasn't the studio environment for you today. Appreciate you making it work. And for those of you who hung out with us or are watching the recording, we love having you here with us and just being a part of the journey.
Nice. At least we have a good time.
Exactly.
Brilliant.